And yeah.
Yeah. So, hey everyone. Nice to see you all after DSA Diaries. So, this time we have brought to you the Tech Teach, which is we are going to explore different domains of computer science. And the first one is database via the SQL queries. So, we have with us the speaker that is Kirti Purohit, which is the CP lead of CodeCheck UMIT chapter. Nice to have you, Kirti. Over to
So
you.
much. Yeah, great. So let's just start. Let me just share my screen before. So is my screen visible to you all? Hello.
Yes, Dave.
Okay. So hello everyone, and in this session today we'll be talking about SQL queries. So this session is basically an introduction to SQL queries in MySQL. Okay, SQL is basically the structured programming. It's not actually the programming language, but it is a query language, and it is different from programming languages like C++ or Python because it is not procedural. It is in fact a query language in which we write a query to get the data since we are working on a database. And MySQL is just like one of an application on which we write queries. There are also server applications like PostgreSQL and Oracle, and also on which we can do the same thing. So in this session, I'm going to talk in MySQL. So SQL is like the requirement for almost 70% of the job profiles. Like whether if you're in the domain of data analytics or in software development, SQL remains the requirement for every job. It is like a must-have programming. It is like a must-have language for any domain. Even if you look at the interviews, we are not in the coding route. We do not have any idea about which what will be the questions, but almost the ratio every time is like 2:1 or 4:1, where you will be having two or three programming questions and one will be SQL, and which is obviously you don't want to skip because you can lose marks in that. So that's why it becomes very important to learn SQL. And yeah, so this session will focus more on application part because as we are talking about applications and interviews and about how to write queries instead of theoretical session. uh, uh, Databases and SQL is like a lot more into theoretical, and this session will solely focus on writing queries. So about me. So my name is Kirti, and about me, I'm a freelancer on Fiverr. So my language in which I work usually is Python and C++, and I automate tasks using Python, like very redundant tasks which require which can be optimized using coding in Python or C++. So I do that using Python, and I also create dashboards in Tableau, which comes under the part of data analytics. And at present, I am the CP lead and the member of speaking team at the CodeChef chapter. And my current area of interest remains blockchain and cybersecurity. And I've also developed a blockchain. So now we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so let's start with the MySQL setup. So I would like to know that how many of you are going to do it with me right now. So I would love to show you how to download the MySQL setup, and it is pretty easy from PostgreSQL, which is like taught in almost every colleges. So I will just give you a demo about how to download MySQL. Okay. I hope my screen is visible to you. So what you can do basically is you can type all of the requirements you have instead of getting confused, because it can be sometimes really confusing. And so yeah, so here you would get the type of files, whichever one you prefer, whether you want a zip file or a Microsoft installer file. I would prefer seeing that to download the Microsoft installer file, which would be easy. And later you would have to fulfill the requirements, which would be Visual Studio Code. I think most of you must be using it. And the rest thing is that you just have to add your password and the thing. So I think we can go ahead with that. And since I won't be able to look at the meet every time. I would love if you guys would unmute yourself and ask me doubts. So if there's just anything, just unmute yourself. Feel free to do it. So shall we go ahead? I think yes.
Yes.
So in this session, we'll meet. So these are the like some of the things we are going to do in this session. So we'll be learning how to create a database, and in that database we can add several tables as well. So we'll be looking at how to create a database and table, and we will be inserting values into it, and we will be writing queries. Okay, so in this SQL, as I said, we write queries. It's not like a programming language where you have for loops or functions. You just have to write the queries accordingly with and you get the data as per your requirements. And there are also some built-in functions of SQL, and one of the main function is group by function, which is like very important. And I think if somebody is into data analytics, or maybe they are doing a data analytics course, and they must be like using the group by function like 70% of the time. So this is some of the theoretical part, which I would like to tell you before jumping right next to the database. So there are three important type of keys we have, which we will be using today. One is a primary key. So primary key has to be unique. It can't have values like 1122 or duplicate values, and it also can't be null. Now, an example of which I can give you is like a PAN card or something, which when you store the database of any student in school, you would obviously be needing to store its GR number, or you will be needing its phone number or whatever it is. But there are always some keys which you need to fulfill, and they can't be null. Now, candidate keys are like a combination of two or more keys, which I'll be explaining in the next slide also. And there's this one most important key, which is called as a foreign key, and it becomes as the base of database, which connects all the tables. So primary key. So as I said, primary key is holds some of the unique properties like PAN or license. Since these keys, since these attributes won't be duplicate, like no two person are going to have two same PAN number or two same license number. So we can have these as a primary key, which would identify a person, or which would identify, let's say that you want to get a data of a person. And if you just can't write a name, okay, because like there will be several people having the same name. So instead of that, you can like write PAN card or Aadhaar card, which would give you the whole data. So that's how things work. And these attributes can't be duplicated. And the next is candidate key, as I said. So now candidate key is like a combination of two or more keys, and these are used for uniquely identifying a tuple. And some of the attributes in this can be null. So these can be null. That's why we are using as a combination. Okay, if this won't be null, and if this would have been unique, then the primary key would have been a first priority. But then there are a lot of attributes in any database all around the world where we can always have not null and unique properties. So in such cases, candidate key is also used. Yeah. So here is an example. Let's say that it's a database of some students who are registered into courses. So the first course is DBMS, and the student name is Aaron, who has the course ID, which corresponds to the course name, and Jeff has also registered into DBMS, and Aaron has also registered into MLN AI. So as primary key, uh, this also has duplicates. This also has duplicates, and this also has duplicates. So it becomes difficult to have a primary key in such case. So what we can do is we can combine any two keys, which could act as our primary key. Okay, so course name and student. So if you combine them, then what you have to do is you have to look at this both as a single entity, which is DBMS and Aaron, and this as a single entity, which is DBMS and Jeff. Okay, so if you look at them as a single entity, then these both become different rather than looking at only DBMS. Similarly, for this part, this candidate key won't work, right? Because if you have course name and course ID, so let's say DBMS and the course ID CS90, so here also, I mean, every course would have an ID. So that doesn't make sense having these both as a candidate keys, obviously, because we want to identify the things. And in similar manner, if you just take as Aaron, and he has registered in CS90, so this also serves as a key which could identify all other attributes in a table. Foreign key. So as I was mentioning before that foreign key serves as a part of the base of the database system. So foreign key is basically used to refer a column into another table, or to link uh, a column into another table. Okay, so as in the first table shown here, we have the student ID, which is acting as a primary key here. Now, this doesn't have any duplicates, as you can see, and this also doesn't have any not null values. I mean, it doesn't have null values, right? Like if a student has registered in the course, then we need to have its student ID. Now, there is another part, which is department. Like, let's say a student works for a project in whichever department. So a student can obviously work in more than one department for a project. So here we also have duplicate values. Okay, and here we also have some values missing, like 107 is not into any department. So this can't be served as a primary key here, and therefore we refer this as a foreign key here, which is in this case, we can have duplicates, and we can refer them properly, rather than if this whole department part was also in the first table. Okay, rather than having two tables, if there was only a single table, then it would have been like a little messy if you could think about it, because there will be like duplicate columns as well to identify each column, and if in case you want to extract the data, it would have been difficult. And now let's suppose that if you want to extract the data that whichever student, like let's say 101, so you want to extract like he has registered in like he is working in whichever department, just get me that data. So you would write a query for it, for this department table, and it would give you the result as CS department and science department, that it is that this person is working in these two departments. So that's how foreign keys work, and makes extracting data and the system of database very simple. Yeah, so now we'll go to MySQL and we'll create a database. So anybody has any doubt up until now? Or has anybody mentioned in the chat box, which I haven't seen yet?
No, Kirti, there is nothing in chat box right now.
Yeah, great. So I think we can move on to MySQL.
Archana wrote that she would be downloading. Do you have any issues while downloading, Archana?
Yeah.
Yes, it's downloading.
Okay. No worries. So you can like just see here how we are doing it, and whenever it is going to download, you can just inform us. So we will be helping you with that. Okay. So now we'll move on ahead with creating a database. So after downloading, this is how your MySQL workbench should look like. which is where you write queries, and in the right section, I mean in the left section, these are all the databases you have. This is a family, this is a sample database, and this is the classic models. So the best thing about this is that instead of working on a terminal, which used to be like previously, where you had to write queries on a terminal, but this has a good uh, uh, like graphic interface where you can like see everything like what's going on exactly. So now we'll write a first to how to create a database. So So for creating a database, we have to mention first that we are creating a database, and let's name it as Chef. So with this line, this would create a database. And to use this database, we have to mention that we are using this database because there are already a lot of databases present. So this wouldn't realize like which database we are using and in what we are going to insert the values. So we will have to mention use code chef. So this would
There's doubt in chat box, Kirti. It says what we have to choose for setup type.
While it's after downloading, right?
Siley, you could just unmute and
Yeah.
Yes, Dean.
what's the query, Siley?
Yeah.
Do you want to speak?
While installing MySQL, here is asking choosing a setup type. First is developer default, second is server only, third is client only, fourth is full, and fifth is custom.
I think you should choose the developer one, and I think it will ask you to add a server head. So don't forget to add server head. Okay. So just first go with the developer part.
Okay. Here they are asking about requirements.
Yeah. So you will have to download. Do you have VS Code?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think there will be one more thing. I don't remember, but just check.
but they are asking for Microsoft Visual C++.
Uh, yeah, then I think, but it should be installed in Visual Studio Code only. Actually, it's not Visual Studio Code, but it should be Visual Studio as far as I remember, and which you have to download C++. I mean,
The purple one.
yeah, but if you already have it now, then it won't ask you. I mean, it wouldn't create any barriers. So, like, just try clicking whether it goes ahead or no. And if it doesn't go ahead, which means like you will have to download that first.
It gives error like one or more product requirements have not been satisfied.
Yeah. So look,
So
what you
I
can do
have
is on the
yeah,
Google you search Microsoft Visual Studio C++ for MySQL. So you will get all the sites whichever one has been downloaded the most. So you won't have to search much.
okay.
So after this part, we are creating this database, and we will be using the database. And in this database, we will be creating two tables. One of which is contests, like contests which have been held, and the prizes which have been distributed in each contest. Okay. So the syntax for writing this is create table contest. Okay, so don't forget the semicolon at the end. And yeah, so after this, we will be adding our all the columns, which more specifically or should be pronounced as attributes. Okay, so we have ID, which is like every contest has an ID. So int, and I will mention this as primary. After which every contest has a winner, right? So we will be declaring a winner, and let's say that it has winner ID. I mean, any user which has the ID, like who has won the contest. Um, and so this will be the character type, and we are assigning it to 27, 25 bytes. Um, After this, we should also include winner name, but I think it won't be necessary. If it is necessary, then we can add later. Apart from that, whether the contest is rated or no, we should know that, and therefore we will be adding that. Which is like so now rated will be character type, and it won't be much, like it will be just yes or no. So we'll go with only 5 bytes. We don't wanna waste our resources. Mm. So it is rated, and yeah, so like whoever has won the contest, they will be having some rating on Code Chef, whether they are 3-star or 4-star. So we will also be adding. It has to be integer type, and let's keep it not null. Now this not null thing. Yeah, what this specifies is that this attribute can't be null. So this has to be integer and it can't be null. So now I haven't mentioned here. So this means that these values can be null, but for in our database, we won't be keeping it as null. But if somebody uses this database, then we can keep this as null as well. So we have the winner rating. Now, since the contest is rated, means that this contest has been hosted by any organization or by any company. So they would also be providing some gifts or prizes or goodies. So we'll also take that which it is sponsored by, which has to be character type. And let's give it 30.
Archana, you could unmute and ask the doubt.
Yeah.
Yes, the for installation it asks for check requirements, means MySQL for Visual Studio, and the second option is a connector Python.
Yeah.
So which one should I do?
I think you will need both. You will have to fulfill the requirements for both. Let me show you. If you just search, what did you say? Python connector, right?
Yes, dear.
Yeah, so it's mentioned, so like it's available by MySQL only. So if you can go here, I think this is it. Microsoft installer Python. Yeah, I think it's this one only. It's mentioned here that this is the Python connector. Are you there? I hope you see this. Okay, so you can download it from here. This is it.
Okay, dear. Thank you, dear.
Thank you. So now we'll create the second table, which is price table, and we will be having it as a syntax. Now, since the price is distributed, so the price will be given to the person who has won this contest. So let's say that we will be needing the ID of the contest. We will be needing the ID of the contest, and let's keep it as primary key here. Okay, we haven't mentioned whether it's integer or not. And let's call the variable goodie, like what is the gift gifted to them. So let's keep it as 10 because we won't be needing it much. And now, as I was talking about foreign key, so we will be using a foreign key here, which is since we have this ID, which is the contest ID basically, and we need to refer it from contest. Because our contest, we will be having every contest, as I said, will be having a prize. So we will be referring it from contest table. So the syntax for writing a foreign key is, so now let me inform you that the syntax for foreign key should be like a proper in manner, like whichever key you're referring from this table to that table. So they should have like same type you can't so like in this table, if you are writing this character, and in the referring table about this contest, if you are referring an integer, so integer to character or character to integer is not allowed. In fact, in fact, like if you have primary key and in the other one if you have a different which could be null, so it would give you an error, because if in this case it is primary key and you are referring it to as and you are referring a null attribute, so you would also get an error. So I would suggest you, like whenever you're working with foreign key, make sure that you are like look at a proper video or look at a proper website which gives you all the information of how a foreign key should be used, okay? Or else you'll just end up in a loop of foreign key errors. So id, which is the our contest id, you will be referring it from contest. So the is no, it's not here. And okay, so I forgot the colon here. Foreign key ID. Have I forgotten something like different? Okay, so I think we should have a bracket here. Does it work? Yeah. So you should also have a bracket, as I said. And so this is a syntax for referring a foreign key. So this will be referring the contest ID. I think we should keep it as contest ID. Okay. And yeah, so our database we will have to, so like we will be running it now. So what we have done is, like first we have created a database, which, and we will be using the database, and in that database we will be creating these two tables, okay? And later on we will also be inserting values in that. So the thing in, so the environment here in MySQL is like you have to select this part and you run this part. So the only the selected part will be run, and you must be seeing this here, that in the action output. Yeah, okay. So our database is created, and for yeah, so you must be seeing it here that our database is created here, okay? So now let's go with the part with the inserting the values in it, okay? So for inserting also, you will have to mention first whichever table you're using, okay? So suppose you're using this contest, okay? So now we'll be inserting values. Insert into contest. So now this acts as like a tuple. So you're inserting a tuple. So you have to take it as like you're inserting a tuple. So first which is contest ID. Then you have the winner ID, which is character. Then you have the whether the contest is rated or not, and winner rating, and then sponsored by. So let's call the contest ID as 1, and the winner as this, and then we have whether it is rated or not. We keep it as yes, the contest is rated, and the winner rating to be 3, and it is sponsored by, let's say, XYZ organization. Yeah. So now this is our tuple, which we will be inserting in contest. So let's just do it. We will be inserting like 4 items. And since I mentioned that our ID should be not null and it should be primary key, so we will be having to keep them unique. Now let's just alter these values as well. And so now let's just keep any two contests which have been like not rated. So like any two contests which are not rated can be like they are like practice contest. Okay, and this person has a rating of 4. This has a rating of 2, and this has a rating of 5. Okay, so let's alter this part as well. Now, yeah, I forgot to mention that, like, suppose if this is a practice contest and this hasn't been sponsored by any contest and it also won't have any gifts, isn't it? So what we will be doing is that we can just take this off from here, okay? And from here as well. So now let's see whether this part works or whether this works or no, okay? Let's just run it. So I selected this part and this part should run. Okay, I think I have to mention as table. Yeah. Let's just try with this first. Yeah. So it's giving us an error at this line, okay, which was expected that the column value doesn't match at this row. This is because we haven't mentioned anything here and it is wrong. So in case if the values can be null and if we want to specify, then we have to specify it to be null like that. Okay. So now these two have been already inserted, right? So we shouldn't select this part, and if we select this, then it would give us an duplicate row. So we will select this part and now run this. So if you look at this, then all of these have been inserted into it. So similarly, we will now insert into prices. So it had contest ID and it has pretty, let's say. Yeah. Okay, 5. Yeah. So now since these two contests were not rated, so we can't include them here because the prices weren't provided for them. Excuse me. So this is the second one, and third wasn't rated, so we can't include third. And fifth is also not rated, so we include 6 here and then we include 7 here. Okay. So we'll take this part and run this. Okay. So it's actually telling us that the data is too long for this character 10. Now we have already declared it 10 here, and it's saying that this is too small to hold the whole string, and after we've declared it, we can't alter like this by directly changing it to it. So we have to do it separately, which will be alter table. Let's say price, and in this whichever column we want to modify, so we write the modify key, and we want to be as character 25. Okay, so we run this part. Yeah, so it took like almost 4 seconds to do it, and I think we should just change this part as well. Okay, so we'll insert these into here. Yeah, okay, so now all of our values have been inserted, and once after these have been inserted, so let me surprise you that we don't need all of this part here now. We you can just erase it and our data still exists. Okay, so now if you want if you want to view our data in a particular table format, so what we do is we write a query. Okay, and we can see the data as we want. So now if we want to view both the tables, so we write a select star. Star would mean like all the attributes we want. Star would mean like all the attributes which are present from contests. Okay. So if I run this, yeah. So it gives me the column, and as I said before, that it had some null values. So this is null. And let's now also view select star from what was the name of it? It was price. So if we run both of them together, yeah. So here we have this table, and then here we have this table. Okay. So now we will be writing some queries to get the data. Okay. Um, so now let's suppose that I want all the contests which have been rated. So does anybody know how can we do it? Hello, is anybody here?
Yes.
It's like, do you know how can we get all the contests which have been rated? Like we want to select only those columns which have yes, yes, and yes. It's just like similar to getting in C++ or Python. Like if C is equals to 0, then get all these data. It's just like that. So in this, how do we do is select star from, since we want it from contest. And so now here we have to apply the condition where. So where is our the keyword which is which like sees or what is the condition applicable. Okay, so we will be doing it as like rated like yes. Yeah, so you see, so it gave us all those contests which have been rated. Now similarly we could also write it like is equals to. So this thing also works in a similar manner. And let's suppose that you want to all those contests which are not rated. So this is how you write it in SQL. It's like in C++ or Python we do it like exclamation mark and then is equals to. Here we do it in this way. So it would like give us all those which are not rated. Okay. So now let's just look at some more queries. So we can like also see like whoever is the winner, like all those winners who has a rating of 5 or 4. All those winners who have a rating of 5 or 4. So similarly, we can also do that. Since we want it from contest only, we have rating is equals to 3 or rating is equals to 4. No, actually I said 5, right?
The Vivek Kumar is asking, do we get some examples from PLSQL as well?
No, in this session doesn't discuss about PLSQL. Okay, so this is saying that rating, unknown column rating in the where clause. So what is the issue with this? Okay, so it's winner rating problem. We're writing it as winner rating, or we'll select this part and run this. So it gave us that these two are the people who has a rating of 4 or 5. Okay. So these were the like things we used in this table. We also used your select. We used update. No, we didn't use update, but update also works similarly. We used insert to. We used create database. We used create table and alter table as well, which modifies the table or table contents. And these were all the things which we used. Like is basically used for string to identify the pattern. It's similar to regex in Python, and this I mentioned is not equal, and in some versions can be also used as this thing. So does anybody have any doubt up until now? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I can like show you like or between in this database where we use like. So like is basically used as for, like I said, it is used for getting a pattern or whichever string we want. So like if we whether want to know like whether the rating, so here we can use like. No, it's not that. We have to write it properly. And so in this way, it identifies a pattern, or if you like, let me just test it. I haven't tested it before, so it doesn't give us anything. So if you like, we want all the contexts which are not rated, and for which we can use like rated as this thing, whichever context are not rated. So we can take the value as not null, or since our winner ID is also character, so we can insert use the winner ID for character, and we can insert some part like whichever part or whichever user we want and extract its data. So that's how like works. And for between, let me just test it. What we can do is rating between. Well, I don't know the syntax of it. Let me just search it. How do we use between? Yeah, so we use and up here. So let's say we want rating between 2 and 5. So I think it should give us all the values which have the rating as 2 and 5. In where clause?
This should be winner rating, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, so it gave us all the values which have been in between. So so in case if we put 4 and 5, which are like only we have only 2 since we know it from our database. So between is inclusive, like it includes 4 and 5 also. It's not exclusive. I hope you got it. And yeah, so I would like more doubts if anybody has anything. Well, we are still gonna view some of the things between like and between. So now let's move on to next slide. So now we'll be looking at some real corporate data. So the thing which we use up till now was like only getting the data, and here we'll be looking at like how to get maximum salary, or the departments which have lesser number of employees, so we can do something with that department if that has very less number of people working in it. Okay. Yeah. So now we'll be looking at the ER model of the database. I'm going to show you. So this is the ER model. So this is the ER model. Okay. Uh, for creating a database, what people usually do is that first a ER model is created, and based on that we create a database. So let's say this is a relation, and these are three tables. We have one table as workers, we have one table as title job, and the other table as bonus. So these three are all related, and these three tables will be included in a database. So the attributes or the columns in workers are worker ID, first name, last name, salary, joining date, and the department in which the worker is working. Then we have the table as title job, which is worker reference ID, worker title, and or whether like and in what position the person is from. And this is the table bonus. Did the person get a bonus, which is not like compulsory that every worker is going to get a bonus. We will be looking at the data, and you will get it. So the date on which the person got a bonus, and the reference ID, I mean the workers. Like this is used everywhere because we will be working on ID and not on names. Since like name can be obviously, as I said, that it can be duplicate. So we will be working on ID and the amount of bonus they got. Okay. So this is our database company, which I've already created. The database company, and we will be using it. So since we were using already Code Chef, so we will have to run this part, and we will use the database as company. So now this will use the database as company. Okay, and so now I'll show you three of the columns of it. Yeah. So this is the bonus column where the not all workers are present. So these are all the workers. These are their first names, last names, salaries, joining date, and the department in which they work. Okay, and this is the bonus part where whichever employee had got a bonus, and some like the worker one has got a bonus twice, and and this is the title, like what is the title of that employee. Okay, so now let's look at some like queries related to it. So yeah, so our first will be finding out the maximum salary. So does anybody can say me like how can we do like finding out the maximum salary? Or at least any idea like how can we start? Yeah. So this is the first thing that we'll be getting the maximum salary. Okay. So we'll be writing as select. From it was from workers, right?
The Vivek is saying is max function also we have for that.
Yeah, you're right. We are going to use max function. So yeah, so in this case, we don't want the maximum salary. We will be taking the name, like whichever employee has the maximum salary. Okay, so there's a name. Yeah, so its attribute is as first name. So select first name. Okay, so we are selecting the first name of the employee from, and our table name is workers. where now we will have to be so now like here we will be having to mention whether to whether what kind of query we want. Since we want the maximum salary, we will be taking it as where salary is equals to max of salary. So I think this should give us the maximum salary from worker. Um, yeah, so in this case, what we can do is we can take as max yeah. So for max function, we have to mention in the select part only. So what this basically does is that it selects the first name and the person which has the maximum salary. So like if we don't want it to look at as max salary, then we can mention it as only salary as salary. Okay. Look a little bit neat. Okay, so it has given us the maximum salary. Okay, and now the next thing we will be working is like yeah. So we will be taking all the departments which have count lesser than 5. So it is like, but if any department which has a count lesser than 5, then we should like do something with the department, because we don't want like yeah. So we'll go ahead with that. Yeah. So our department thing is present in this part, HR, and then we have admin, and then we have account. Okay. So what we need to do is that we need to count the number of people working in any department which have like lesser number of people, which is like less than 5, or I think all of them have less than 5. So we can take it as a little bit different. Okay. So select star from Coco. Now we will be using the group by function to group by all the departments. So HR, and then admin. So that what it will do is that it will count the rows on based on the condition that the department is been grouped into HR, only single HR, and then admin.
There is doubt in
Yeah.
chat box of Kirti.
We can use count function, right? Yes, definitely. So we are going to use count function in that. So first off, we have grouped it by department, and after it has been grouped into department, so we can't extract it data directly because it is a group by table and it is not a table as which we were working earlier. Because you know what, since the HR have been merged into one, we can't extract the data directly, and so we have the row. So what we can do is select found star, okay, and we since we need department because we want to star. Yeah, so we can look at here like HR has two employees, admin has 4, and then account has been employed. So this is how group by works. Okay, so it extracts like the so like it extracts based on some criteria which I want to show you. If we want to get any workers joining date, like when they have joined, so if we look at, yeah, so we have this joining date, and we won't be like typing in the date, or we won't be like doing a search of a string. MySQL already provides this the function that we can extract the month, or we can extract the year. Okay, so how this thing works is, we have mentioned here where month, the joining date should be 2, which is at the person whether they have joined in the month of February, and the year of joining date. Okay, so this is the joining date column, and it has to be 2014. So whether the person had joined in 2014 of February. Yeah, so like these are all the people who have joined in the month of February. Yeah, so now we will be looking at the sort function, which sorts the salary, like how we can get the salary in the descending order. Okay, so select star, we also order by, in this case, try with this first. Yeah, so it is giving us a salary in the descending order. Um, so the next thing what we can look at is like how to get, this is also an application of group by, how to get the maximum salary from each department. So like in this we had looked at how to get the maximum salary all over the all over the office, like who has the maximum salary. But now we can, like if we want to know like whichever department has the highest salary. So star. So at first what we basically do is like we just put it as star, because we don't know exactly what we will be needing. So it's better if we do it in case of group by as well. So since we want the maximum salary, we are grouping it by department, and we want it from purpose, and let's select the maximum salary. It won't work. I don't know why, we just feel it. Let me just try and select max's salary. Just also write the group by also, like our department, which the department it is. Yeah. So this is our last query, which is so it gives us the like maximum salary in whichever department it is. Like HR has the maximum salary of whatever it is, and then admin has maximum salary, and then account has this maximum salary. So this is what basically group by does. So we looked at this part. We have looked at sorting, finding the highest salary, and yeah. So this was it, and now we start with the Q&A section. If anybody has any doubt. Yeah, actually, someone had asked out about what is the difference between MySQL and PLSQL. So MySQL was created to provide all the features of SQL, but PLSQL is little more advanced and it extends to the procedural features of the programming language. Like since I mentioned before, like it doesn't have for loops and built-in function. PLSQL is little more into procedural type. It is more like a programming language along with the function of SQL. um, Union in what case, like union of columns, or if you want to do union of tables? I think you're mentioning about union of tables. um, if this is it, then I think we have to use join in this case. Like now let's say that we want to create a union of two tables. As I mentioned, that a database has different tables, and if you want to join them, then in that case, what we can do. So let me share that part. Yeah. So first off, we will look at whether, yeah. So look at this, that this title has yeah. Okay. So what we can look at is what we can do, that we can extract all those people who have got the bonus. Okay. Which could be joining, or which could be like union of table, because if we look at only this table, do we get the bonus, like who has got the bonus of what, and like if anybody has got the bonus or not. So the reason why these tables are kept separate, because it would like create a mess if we add bonus table. Then we would have to first add whether this person has got a bonus or not, then mentioning their date as well. So that's why this table is different. And in case if we want to get a table, okay, that give me all, which could be, it could be like a question, like whoever wants like the company wants all those people who have got the bonus. Okay, so in that case we have to do join. Select star from. So we need to join bonus. We will be taking an alias of bonus as P. Okay, and worker as W. So if we only do this as, so it would create a union. Basically, it would create a cross product. It would multiply each row, okay, and it would like give a combination like of if this table has suppose 2 rows and this table has 3 rows, and it will give us a combination of 6 rows without any condition. But this is not what we want. We want whoever has got a bonus. Okay, so we need to apply a condition for that, where, okay, we we want these worker reference id, okay, is equals to w's worker id. Worker id. So I won't be able to like show you. I think I can show you. Yeah. So this is the bonus, like this person had got the bonus, and this has, like these all have got bonus obviously. And from this, one had got a bonus, okay, two had also got, three had also got, but none of them had got. Okay, so if we only just like multiply, like cross product them without any this condition, like if we don't include this condition, then what it would do is like it would multiply this with all these columns, this with all these columns, and this with all these columns. Now with our condition that the worker ID from bonus should be equal to worker ID from worker column. So it would only select like only those, but would select like 1, 2, 3 and only 1, 2, 3. So it would give us like only those columns which who have got the bonus. from select star from, I think we can select the name, w dot first name, and we can also get the also get the amount of bonus they have got. Mm, b dot bonus amount. Yeah, so this is it. So this is like so this is called a join. This is just a direct join. We can also include a natural join. So natural join is like it would automatically do it. We won't have to include this part. Okay, but since our session is like already getting fast, so I have shown you like how can we use like how can we union two tables, or how can we like join those two tables. And if you were saying about like how can we like union rows, this is what, then just please let me know. Yeah, this was for join and union. So does anybody else have any doubt?
If you have any doubts, then please unmute and ask. Okay, so we would also like to know what kind of sessions would you love to have? Like, do you have any suggestion for Code Chef chapter? What kind of sessions can we keep for you? On what topics? So that, yes. Please unmute and answer, or else put in chat box. Okay, Vivek Kumar says, please take a session on PLSQL. Kirti, do you have to say anything on this?
I will definitely take and let you know. I mean, we'll let everybody know.
Okay, then, okay, there's one more on JavaScript. Tableau.
Yes, definitely. I'll take a session on JavaScript and Tableau as well.
Okay, Mansi says no doubt. Okay. Okay, Mansi.
Thank
Then
you
I
all
guess
for attending.
we can wrap it up.
Hosting websites other than the GitHub, like you want, what are the like available companies which give up the web hosting services, or things like where you can do it exactly. Actually, for that, what you can do is like, since GitHub has like GitHub student pack, so if you register for it with your I guess student ID, and I think you have to do some registration. And after that, it will give you like a lot of free things. It has a lot of subscriptions, so I think it has one or two web hosting sites as well, which provide your domain names for 1 year free. I think you should check that out if you really want to do it.
Yes, Anshul, will consider this practical exercise on ethical hacking. I guess then we should wrap this session. Thank you, Kitty, and thank you so much, everyone, for attending this session. We hope to see you all in the next session. We'll get back to you soon. Thank you, Kirti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys for attending.